And there we are. We are live. And hello to everyone joining us for Love Streaming today. And I'm so excited to get to welcome CJ and introduce her to you all know. But y'all know CJ. She's awesome. And CJ is going to share with us today social media and self-care, which I think is super, super important. And I'm going to be paying very close attention. So, my darling CJ, I'm going to let you take it away, I guess is the little, yeah. This is it feels very official. Take it away, CJ.
Very official. I love it. Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction, Tara. I deeply appreciate it. And hello to all of the warrior goddesses out there. Congratulations on voting. If you've gone out and voted, congratulations on voting for when you go out and vote. It's such a amazing and potent time right now. And what comes along with that time is a lot of conversation on social media, a lot of fixation on social media. And so I was speaking with Heather Ash one day, and she had this amazing idea of why don't we share about social media self-care? And it makes a lot of sense because we take care of ourselves in so many other ways, especially with the warrior goddess training work that we do. We're always taking care of our energy, the way that we show up in our conversations and in our everyday life with the people that we care about, and the way that we show up for ourselves. However, a lot of times that doesn't seem to extend into social media, and we find ourselves getting really sucked into some kind of, I guess the word would be like toxic situations online. And it doesn't have to be that way. So I've created a presentation for you to help you tap into some social media self-care. And these are tips that you can take forward into the next couple of days and into the rest of your life. So I'll go ahead and share the lovely slideshow that I've created for you. And let me know if you have any questions, if you're having any trouble hearing, seeing, or anything like that. And I will do my best here to help with that. So, social media self-care with me, CJ Thomas. So let's start off with this question. Are you hooked? How much time and energy are you giving to social media? I want you to really think about that. Do you know how much time you actually spend on your newsfeed every day? Go ahead and type in the comments if there's, anything that comes up for you with that. And I'll go ahead and answer any questions that you have at the end of this presentation. So whatever you have, go ahead and just leave it in the comments and we'll talk about it at the end. But before we start, let's go ahead and ground. So I invite you, wherever you are, to close your eyes if that feels good for you. Take note of how you're feeling in your body. Notice your posture, which may be different depending on how you're viewing this love stream today. You might be hunched over looking at your phone, or scrunched over at a desk, at a computer, whatever that is. Just take note of how your body feels. And take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, see if you can soften. Soften in the shoulders, the neck, the back, the chest. Ground into your sit bones. Soften the forehead, the muscles in the face. And take a moment to observe your energy. It's going to be different for everyone depending on what you've been doing during your day leading up to this moment. But give yourself permission to be present with your energy without judgment, without resistance, and without any desire to really change anything. Just allowing yourself to be where you are. And taking another deep breath in. Exhale. Open your eyes when you're ready, and we'll come back into this space. So now you're fully present and here for yourself and for this presentation today. And that's huge because one thing that social media does is it has the ability to take us away from a place of presence. And one way that we can reclaim that energy and that presence is with social media self-care tip number 1. Try a weekly digital detox. So, how many times in your life have you just decided, I'm going to just get rid of Facebook? I have so many friends who have decided that they're going to get rid of Facebook. They put the announcement out there, and a week later, they're back. There's no judgment here because it's amazing that they even step into that space to begin with. And a lot of times it's super beneficial for them. And so I would love to challenge you to try a weekly digital detox. And what that would look like is completely stepping away from your social media feeds, not checking your news feed on Facebook, not looking at Instagram. If you're on LinkedIn, you're not checking that either. Even Pinterest, stepping away from all of it and seeing what it feels like in your body to release your attachment to these digital platforms. It might be for one day out of the week. It might be for a couple of days. It may even be that you take a digital detox every other week if you have the ability to do that, which can be really hard in our day and age because so much of our lives are tied to the computer, especially with working online and with COVID. And so just think, what are some ways that I can detox? And maybe it's not a full on release because maybe you do work online, but you might just say, no leisurely social media for me today. I'm going to replace that with something else. And see if you can incorporate that in each week. Social media self-care tip number 2 is to keep track of your screen time. So this is a huge one, and there are apps that can actually help with that. So that's kind of a way in which, our digital world can be very supportive of who we are. You can download an app, or if you have an iPhone, sometimes it's already built into the system that it will track how much time you spend looking at your phone. And so this goes a little bit deeper than social media. This is how often are you checking your messages, your email. Email is also social media. Anything that you're doing that is interacting with other people in a social way in the digital platform is social media. And so really looking at that and saying, how much time am I really spending in this space? You might be surprised, and you might be surprised at how many hours in the day you can claim back when you start to really pay attention to how much time you're spending on your screens. Social media self-care tip number 3 is to turn off the notifications on your social media apps. This one might be really scary, and it's actually something that I started doing a long time ago. And just a little feedback. So aside from being a warrior goddess and a facilitator and a yoga teacher, I call myself a priestesspreneur, which means that I have so many different things that I'm doing in the world. And one of them is that I do social media management. And so a lot of my job is in the social media world. I do copywriting. I'm constantly on the computer. I'm constantly looking at what other people are posting and learning from it and learning from ads. My world is very much, it very much revolves around that. However, something that I started to do to take care of myself was turning off my notifications when I don't need to look at them. So Facebook Messenger, I completely turned off those notifications. I turn off the notifications to the different platforms I use. And actually, right now they're on because I'm working. You can see one on my screen right now. But when I'm not in work mode, I turn off my notifications. So you can kind of set spaces in your day where you set boundaries around that. And you say, okay, I'm turning off my notifications for this time, from this time to this time. Or you can turn them off altogether. So it's just that reminder that you have the ability to control the way that you interact with social media. Self-care tip number 4 is to delete apps from your phone and only check social media on your computer. So for the longest time, I got rid of Facebook on my phone. I got rid of Messenger on my phone. And I even got rid of Gmail on my phone. And I decided when I check this is when I'm on my computer, sitting at a desk or at a coffee shop, just taking designated time, because otherwise you're taking your phone, you're picking it up, you're turning it on to look at it when you just looked 5 minutes ago to check it. And it becomes this habit in our lives that we don't even realize we're doing. How many times have you picked up your phone and then said, oh my goodness, I don't even know why I'm holding my phone right now. I don't even know why I'm looking at my screen right now. So it's something that if you were to take those apps off of your phone, then you don't really have the urge to go and check because you know they're not there. So social media self-care tip number 5 is to eliminate checking your phone from your morning routine. Now, if you're like me, you probably use your phone as an alarm clock, and it's the only alarm clock that you have. I don't know if you remember having those alarms that it put off this like weird siren sound that would just be like blood curdling. I hated waking up to those. So when phones came along and I was able to use my cell phone as my alarm clock, that changed my life. I was so much happier with my alarm in the morning. And the downside to that was that I would pick up my phone to turn off the alarm and then bam, I was scrolling on social media first thing in the morning. So I started to really pay attention to that. And part of my practice now is that I set my phone away from my bed. It's plugged in away from my bed. My alarm is on, but I have the ability to just tap the screen to turn off the alarm in the morning. And then I walk away from my phone and I commence with my morning routine. So that's something that you can start to do to take care of yourself with this social media self-care, is to eliminate checking your phone from your morning routine, and maybe just check it after you do all of the things that you do to take care of yourself in the morning. So whether that's getting your kids ready, or whether that's getting yourself ready, doing some meditation, yoga, whatever is part of your morning routine, it's a great way to just say, all right, I'm putting my attention towards these other things that really fill my cup, that really get me centered and grounded in my own personal energy before I start to let other people into my space. So social media self-care tip number 6 is one of my favorites, and it's a little bit challenging in this day and age, especially with COVID, but replacing screen time with FaceTime. And so this can look different ways depending on what our world is offering us right now. And so you might have to communicate with your friends through a digital platform, and that's okay. So maybe instead of scrolling, you can replace commenting on someone's post with just sending a friend a text or sending a family member a text to say, hey, I was just thinking about you. I wanted to check in on you, hoping that you're doing well, sending love, and then leaving it at that. You can set up a time to have a phone call or do actual FaceTime on your iPhone if you have one with a friend. So it's something where you're connecting, you're including that warmth, that human connection back into your routine. Because one thing that social media does is it can really cut us off from that. And so we think, I know what Susan's doing in her life because I see all of her updates on her Facebook all the time. But really, have you reached out to Susan lately? Have you actually talked to Susan to see what's really going on in her life? Because we often forget that social media holds a lot of our highlights, but it doesn't hold our full story. So replacing that screen time with FaceTime, it's huge. And then self-care tip number 7 is breathe before you react or respond, which really connects to self-care tip number 6, because once again, it puts us back into our bodies and into that space of humanity. There are a lot of triggers in the social media world. There's a lot of opinion in the social media world. it is a sounding board for everything that we're holding in our minds. And that can bring up a lot. It can make you angry. It can make you want to respond in a way that maybe could be hurtful to others. And you might really react to other people's hurtful responses. And of course, that's not all the time, but especially with everything that's been going on in our world, there's a lot that can come up and that has come up in our own communities, where the warrior goddess communities, where people are sharing their points of views and there's a reaction that comes up. So let's kind of put ourselves in the place of this for a moment. You see a post and it sparks something inside of you. And instantly the thumbs start typing and you're putting your response into the comment box and you click send. And then you walk away and you start thinking about it later and you're like, wow, did I really just say that? Did I really just respond in that way? Either that, or you're walking away holding on to the flame of the fire that sparked inside of you, the anger that sparked inside of you. And you're taking it into the rest of your day. You're taking it into the conversations you have with your friends and family. You're taking it into your bedroom at night when you go to sleep. It's that deep. So, we really have the ability to be deeply affected by what we see on social media. But imagine if this were different. Imagine if you were to see that post, to feel that feeling that comes up inside of you and to want to respond, but instead of responding right away, you just stopped, took a deep breath, and maybe asked yourself, what can I say in this moment that will actually be a positive contribution? And do I have a positive contribution? And if you don't, then maybe there isn't a need to contribute at all. So the one thing that's really beautiful about social media is that it does give us this amazing platform to have a voice. And it's so important that as warrior goddess women, we are heard. And there's also something really powerful to being still. And Heather Ash is talking about that all the time, that when we are just holding our energy, it holds a lot more power outside of us than when we just, spread it out everywhere without really taking time and space to think about how are we reacting or responding to a situation. And sometimes you'll be wanting a certain outcome and it'll just come without you even having to interact. So take a deep breath before you react or respond. So self-care tip number 8 is also one of my favorites. It's rise above the comparison trap. And this one is deep. I have to take a deep breath before I even talk about it because of my own experience with comparison in the social media world. So I'm a millennial and social media has been a huge part of most of my life. And the way that I have been able to see my peers and interact with my peers is through social media and through, once again, those highlights in their lives, those amazing photos that they're taking of their experiences, the things that they're sharing that, they get to sit there and kind of curate. They get to curate the way that their life looks. And for a long time, I took that with a lot of value. And I would look at my own life and the things that I was doing in my own life, the accomplishments I was making, the money I was making, all of it. And I would compare it to what I saw on my friends' feeds. And I realized, it did something to my self-esteem. It did something to my belief in myself. So the minute that I was really aware that was happening, I made a vow to change it because I realized that it can breed a lot of jealousy. It can breed a lot of low self-esteem and just things that don't support us in actually meeting our goals or, stepping into the lives that we really want to live. When we're constantly comparing, we're not inside of our bodies and inside of our own experiences. And then we don't have the time to put the energy towards our own experience. So rise above the comparison trap. we are all here to be completely different. We're all a different color in this beautiful picture that is the collective. And if we don't allow ourselves to be that, to show up in our authenticity, to show up in our individuality, then I think it takes a lot away from the beauty that is the world that we live in. So self-care tip number 9 is clean up your newsfeed, girl. Clean it up. You have the ability to do that. And this is also something that I think when it comes to social media, we kind of forget. But if you are constantly seeing things come up on your news feed that trigger you, that make you upset, that make you angry, that don't add to the value of your life, you have the ability to unfollow, to unsubscribe, to unfriend if it needs to go that far. I think that something that comes along with social media is that we put a lot of value and weight on the friendships that we have. And don't get me wrong, networking is amazing. I love the fact that I have the ability to connect with all of you here on Facebook. Like, I never would have this opportunity without this platform. And there are some people that maybe, we don't need to spend our days and our lives looking at on social media and keeping tabs on and seeing what they're doing in their lives. If it's something that triggers you, if it's something that doesn't build value in your life, it's okay and really important actually to just let it go. So maybe you don't unfriend that person, but you can always go to someone's page and turn off the notifications of their posts so that you don't see them. And you'll be surprised at how quickly you can clean up your news feed and just start seeing things that nurture you. And this isn't I don't want to replace this, or I don't want to say that this is a reason to bypass important things and topics, because that's another really beautiful part of social media, is that we start to get different points of view. We get different information that maybe we wouldn't have gotten otherwise, because we're connecting with such a huge community of people with so many different opinions. And it's really valuable to hold space for that. But if there's something that comes up that just continues to eat away at you, that triggers you constantly, that takes you out of your power, then it's okay to let that go and trust that the universe will send you the information that you need. And so the last self-care tip is to replace the time you spend on social media with creative activities. This one has been super near and dear to my heart lately. I actually have been doing a lot of painting lately. I've been writing more. I've been just thinking of different ways that I can create some Christmas gifts for people coming up. Just really thinking, how can I be more creative? And social media is really great for witnessing other people's creativity. And then we start to think, I want to do that. And so you can use social media to actually bring more creativity into your life, to be inspired to do creative activities. You can use Pinterest for that. Pinterest is one of my favorite vision boards, and I love going on there and looking at the crafts that other people are doing. And then I go out into the world and I try to do it myself. You can, if you're on TikTok, which I know it's for a younger generation, but it's becoming a lot more popular these days. TikTok has this really awesome hashtag called TikTok learning, or learn on TikTok. And they'll teach you how to do different art projects or science experiments, or just like things that you can do with your kids, with your friends, with your family. So you get to watch this cute little video and then you can go out and do it. Or you can fully step away from social media altogether and just tap into your heart. Think about the projects that you've been wanting to do, the food you've been wanting to cook, the art you've been wanting to make, and go out and do it. This one is how we really honor, in my opinion, the life force energy that we've been granted in this life and the creative energy that we've been granted in this life. And then once you create, you have so much more to share with people. And you will even find that you're so deep in your creativity that you don't even really care about sharing it with people because you're just enjoying being present and in the moment. So those are the top 10 social media self-care tips that I came up with for all of you today. And the last one is just to remember the 4 agreements. So a lot of the warrior goddess training is based on Toltec wisdom. And Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the book, The 4 Agreements. And I think that they come in perfectly when it comes to social media. So number 1, be impeccable with your word. There are real humans with beating hearts on the other side of that screen. So speak to them impeccably. Number 2, don't take anything personally. If you see someone share something that doesn't align to your beliefs or what's in your heart, you can choose not to react. Protect and honor your energy. And number 3, don't make assumptions. Text can easily be taken out of context. People are complex. Don't assume that everything you read on social media is true or a clear depiction of someone's story or character. And number 4, always do your best. So when it comes to all of these self-care tips that I shared with you today, you don't have to go and start implementing every single one. That's really a lot, but you can always do your best. Maybe you try 1 week of digital detoxing, or maybe you just start taking on the practice of taking a deep breath before you react or respond to something you see on your feed. And just do what you can. I think when we all just do a little bit, it makes a huge difference. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and just check on the comments and see if there's anything that came up here today. Hi, Naomi. And Naomi says, checking social media in the morning creates a reactive mindset for the day. Absolutely. Totally. You're starting off your day just like reacting. Definitely. Thank you for sharing that, Naomi. Robin, hello. I'm so happy to share this info with you. Thank you for being here. Naomi also says, I now read for 15 minutes before bed and when I wake up. That is an awesome self-care tip. Reading for 15 minutes before bed and when you wake up, because the thing is, if you're on social media, you're reading anyway. So why not switch your phone with a book? Or if you like reading on your phone, you could download Kindle. So that's another way that you can like use digital tools to support you. Awesome. I'm happy you're reading, Naomi. I would love to know what you're reading. Carrie, hello, and thank you for being here. And Carrie says, what helps in those moments where you have the craving to check your social media, but you're on a detox? Yeah. So if you get a craving to check your social media, but you are digitally detoxing, there are a few different things you can do. So one is that you can replace the urge. So notice when it comes up in you. And I guess the first thing I would say is to be mindful. Notice it, notice what it feels like, and then take a moment. You might even take time to like count to 10 and just say like, okay, I want to check my social media feed, but instead I'm going to count to 10. See what happens. If you still feel that urge, then think of something that you can replace picking up your phone with. So maybe you say, all right, I'm going to go and get a cup of water instead. Or if you do have the urge to pick up your phone, you know, do it, but don't turn the screen on. Just pick it up, set it down, and then you're kind of telling your brain, like, I did it already. I did that thing. So there's different things you can do, and you can play around with it and see what works best for you. But that the counting to 10 is a big one. And then just going and distracting yourself with something else. So I hope that helps, answers your question, Carrie. Thank you for sharing. And I am at the end of my time here. So I just want to take a moment to thank you all for being here. I hope that these self-care tips are something that you can implement into your own practices as you move into the world as the warrior goddesses that you are, continuing to strengthen your power, live in your full authenticity, and impact the world with your beauty and your light. Thank you so much for holding this space. Oh, Tara, you're muted, I think.
I am muted. Oh, and I was just saying thank you, and such really great wisdom. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And yeah, lots to think about.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Bye, everyone. I'm trying to think. Our next is this afternoon. I'll have to check the schedule. Mwah. Sending love to everyone. Actually, I'll check the next broadcast time here while we're on, just so you know. All right. Next, we have, it looks at noon to 2 p.m. That's Central Time will be our next live. So please join us then. Bye. And big thanks to CJ. Just before I say, actually end, more big thanks to CJ. That was totally fabulous.